Hey, Alex.
What?
So when you're on a boat and you're on like a rocky ocean, and you're drifting out to sea, what's the best way to keep your boat like sturdy and just staying still?
Oars?
No, not even close. You throw out your anchor.
Oh, your anchor. Oh,
Yep,
okay.
You throw out your anchor. You know what I like to do to keep my podcast steady and just sturdy while everything else seems to be rocky and wavy around me?
Not oars, right?
Not oars. It's Anchor again.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Anchor.fm. Let me explain. This app is free, completely free to host your podcast on.
Like 100% free?
100% free. And you get unlimited storage for all your episodes.
Unlimited?
Unlimited.
Unlimited.
As Russell Wilson would say.
Yes.
That's right. It's also got creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer.
Well, I'm all about that.
I know. And it also distributes your podcast for you, so it can be heard on the likes of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of them.
What's not to like?
It's great. You can even make money from your podcast, Alex.
And we're all about that.
And you don't need minimum listenership. So,
that's
good. That's a real good thing. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. You need to download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
I'm getting right on it right now.
Keep your boat and your podcast sturdy. Week 1 of the NFL is done. We did it, Alex.
Yeah, we did. And thank goodness it's over with.
It was messy.
It was messy.
Oh, man. But it was football.
I'm glad it's back.
Oh, me too. It was glorious. Just sitting there watching it and just forgetting about everything, all the crap that the whole world has been dealing with. Oh, it was nice. It was real nice.
It's funny listening to some other podcasts. They're all talking about, like, by the end of the day on Sunday, their heads were hurting and stuff like that. I actually had a pretty good headache too, and they're like, they're all saying essentially the same thing. I think I was just taking in so much at once that I wasn't used to taking in for such, the longest time, and my brain was sensory overload.
That's how I felt on Monday night watching the Denver Broncos and that ugly game with the Titans. My head by the end of all that was killing me. It was killing me, but it was so worth it. All of it was worth it. Oh, we did it. We're in the NFL season. This is the Fantasy Chairmen podcast, and I am Ben.
And I'm Alex.
And if it sounds a little bit weird, Alex is coming to us from a distance today. So
from a distance.
Yep.
Not on location.
Not on location. Yeah. So Alex is there on shift doing what he can, doing his job. So if he gets called away at some point, we may have if we happen to have a weird break in the podcast at some point, just know that we'll pause it and we'll come back to you.
Yes. We'll get back to you.
First time recording it this way, so we'll see how it goes. But that being said, Alex is all ready for some NFL news and a whole bunch of injury updates.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh my. All right, well, let's get into that.
And now it's time for your NFL news.
Well, I like to take the good before the bad, so let's kick it off with a little NFL news first. First bit of news, it's been about a week since we did our last podcast. We did the Megasode, right?
We did the Megasode, then we had a League Notes episode, so it's been a little while.
It's been a little while. So in that time frame, Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara both signed big-time extensions. Going to be staying with their teams there for the foreseeable future. I think Dalvin Cook's contract was a 4-year extension in the 60 millions, somewhere in that range. And then Alvin Kamara's was a 5-year 75, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was, right up in that range. For sure.
Big time extensions. So there was a lot of questions coming into the beginning of the season with them, and if they were going to be unrestricted free agents at the end of the season. But they are locked up with their teams, and they're going to be there for a little while.
Thank goodness. I like to see these good running backs get paid. Sometimes you just feel bad for running backs.
I know, and
they're so expendable.
Yeah, they're so expendable, yet they're such a pivotal position too. I mean, they're the most important, non-important position apparently. So,
apparently.
Another bit of news that we saw this morning: Allen Robinson removed all of any type of association with the Chicago Bears from his social media accounts, and is not happy with the Bears organization that he does not have an extension done. So
little frustration.
We also got an update later on that he had a conversation with Coach Matt Nagy, and it sounds like they've smoothed things over. But how many weeks are things going to be smooth, especially after week 1, Trubisky was still the quarterback.
Yes, he was. I don't know. I don't know if Allen Robinson likes that or not.
I will say after Matt Nagy posted publicly that Mitch Trubisky would be the starting quarterback, apparently Allen Robinson tweeted out, the little eye emojis, like shocked eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So makes you wonder. We'll see how long Trubisky is the quarterback, and then we'll see, like I said, how long things are smoothed over with Allen Robinson. So apparently things are back on track for them. So for how long, that's anybody's guess. So Sunday, man, we had a slew of injuries from Sunday, and some pretty bad ones that landed some people on the 3-week IR. So this year in 2020 with the COVID scenario and everything, the NFL switched. They have a short-term IR, so it's only 3 weeks if somebody gets placed on the IR. And Le'Veon Bell lands on the IR with hamstring injury, so he kind of came in. There was a little beef between him and the fantasy Dementor there about his hamstrings, and lo and behold, he goes and tweaks his hamstring in the game.
Yep, it was not fun.
So Le'Veon's going to be out for 3 weeks. Marlon Mack will be out for the rest of the year. He tore his Achilles on Sunday, that's a bummer, man.
Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines season.
Oh yeah,
what that means.
No joke there.
Jonathan Taylor time
Blake
came
Jarwin.
early.
What's that?
Jonathan Taylor time came early.
Yes, it did. Much like Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yep.
So Blake Jarwin, he was a sleeper tight end this year. He tore his ACL, and he will be out for the rest of the season this year.
Man.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I was kind of hoping that we'd see something from him.
A lot of people were pegging him to be a breakout tight end.
Mm-hmm. David Njoku placed on the 3-week IR as well. Was that a hamstring issue? I was trying to.
Sounded like a MCL sprain, something like that.
Ah, sprained knee. Okay, all right. Deebo Samuel. So it coming up to Sunday, it sounded like he actually had a chance to play on Sunday, but then he lands on IR come Sunday morning. So people were kind of unsure, like where the confusion was there. But we later learned that Deebo had a setback the week before Sunday of week 1 here, and experienced some swelling, and the swelling didn't go down. So this is very typical of these Linz Frank injuries. You push it too hard, too fast, trying to come back from it, and you can make it that much worse, and then you have to wait out even longer. So
Debo, no.
Ben being the Debo Samuel dynasty owner, and
Debo,
that can't be too happy news for you, my friend.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Ugh.
Well, we'll touch on a couple of these other injuries here, and maybe expand on a couple that we really want to talk about. Michael Thomas, high ankle sprain. Apparently, he got rolled up in the Week 1 game, and he didn't want to let any of the sideline medical staff have a look at it until after the game, and then it turned out to be much worse than what he thought. So he might actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he lands on IR here sometime soon.
He could be a short-term IR guy.
Philip Lindsay, turf toe, had him stuck his foot on a cut and ended up getting a case of turf toe. Sounds like he might miss a week or two. James Conner, surprise, surprise, hurt again.
Man.
Ankle sprain. So he was literally in for, what was it? I think it was 1 or 2 series, and then he was out. He was just on the sideline walking up and down, and no one was really sure until about the second half, and then we found out that he was done for the game with an ankle sprain. So
yeah, I think he got 6 carries.
Gosh, it never ends.
And then already hurt. Man,
I feel bad for the guy, but it never ends.
Seriously.
George Kittle hyperextended his knee. He actually was able to play through it the rest of the game too, but
didn't do much when he did.
Was 0 in the second half. So trust me, I noticed. It sounds like Kyle Shanahan says the plan is to evaluate Kittle through the week, and Kittle fully intends to play, and Shanahan wants him to play if he can, but they're going to evaluate him through the week and see how it goes. Cortland Sutton injured his shoulder in practice prior to the Week 1 games there, and had an AC shoulder joint injury. So essentially a slight dislocation of the shoulder there, and he missed Week 1. And it sounds like from Vic Fangio that they're going to reassess him this week and see if he can go for Week 2. A slew of hamstring injuries. Golden Tate missed Week 1 with a hamstring injury. Kenny G missed Week 1 with a hamstring injury. Miles Sanders missed Week 1 with a hamstring injury as well. Sounds like he got in a full workload today for practice, so that's good news for Miles Sanders. Hopefully the hamstrings are okay. Denzel Mims missed Week 1 with a hamstring injury as well. Devontae Parker had a hamstring injury going into Week 1, played with it, and then re-aggravated it. So he got pulled from the Week 1 game against the Patriots, if I remember right. And they're going to reassess him this week and see if he can go for Week 2. Duke Johnson was in the Thursday night game. He hurt his ankle, and it sounds like he is back and practicing this week, so that's a good sign for Duke Johnson. And then the last one I got is Chris Godwin. We learned this morning, actually, that he was having concussion-like symptoms, so he has been placed in the concussion protocol. So some big names on there, man. A whole flipping slew of them.
Man, this
We predicted this, though. We
predicted,
Week 1, probably all the way up to Week 3, we're going to have a whole
potentially just
people are going to be
being a bloodbath,
nicked up, and they're going to be playing hurt through Week 1 and 3. The lucky ones that don't get hurt, they're lucky. But we were also talking about as well. I would not be surprised if you guys see a lot of players taking off Tuesdays and Wednesdays, missing practices, and they'll list them with some type of injury. But with no preseason and a very short practice time for the team prior to Week 1, I think these teams are going to be extra cautious with their key players and try to keep them healthy as long as they can.
Oh yeah. This whole shortened off season and no preseason really caused a bloodbath in Week 1 here. Not good, man. It was messy. That's for sure. A lot of underperformers and a lot of injuries and a lot of random people having big weeks. So this was every week one is wild, but this one in particular just seemed to be like just outlandish.
I was going to say, outside of all the injuries, it was a pretty typical week one. I mean, you had, some people going off crazy, that you don't necessarily see all the time. I mean, we had Sammy Watkins going off again week one. Everyone's
week one wonder
about Sammy. Oh yeah, week one wonder, Sammy Watkins.
Oh yeah, pretty nuts. Well, that was a whole bunch of news.
That's all I got, news and notes.
That was a whole bunch of news, Alex. This is what happens.
Everyone updated, man.
What happens when week one comes around?
Yo.
Especially when there hasn't, been much going on before this.
Yes,
it just makes for a loaded news segment for sure.
I was trying to write it all down as it was rolling in, man, and it was taking papers worth of information.
Just jotting it all down. You're writing a book over there. My
Pretty
goodness.
much.
Well, now that we've gotten past all the bad news, injuries, and all that stuff, we've got some good news for you. We've got 10 days left to go on our charity raffle that we're doing for this month with the Roundup City Racers, a youth track and field and cross-country organization. Part of what the Fantasy Chairmen want to do is partner with youth sports organizations and charities and try to help them with their fundraising. And as part of that, we are doing this raffle that we're going to be drawing on September 27th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And the winner can choose between a Todd Gurley Rams jersey and an Allen Robinson Bears jersey. We've had quite a few entries so far, but it's not too late to get your name in on that raffle. $5 for one ticket, and then we've got a great Instagram and Twitter promo going on where you can earn up to, you ready for this, Alex? 50 free tickets.
50? That's 50?
50 free tickets if you just get on our Instagram page, that's at Fantasy Chairmen Pod, or on our Twitter page at Chairman Fantasy. And if you buy one ticket, and if you find that tweet in there with our promo code or the post on Instagram with the promos, you can follow the directions there to go through and earn yourself up to 50 free tickets, all with just the purchase of one ticket. And
so you're telling me I buy one ticket, I do all the little promo things and everything, retweeting, and I can have 51 tickets for the price of one?
Yeah, $5 for essentially 51 tickets.
That's outlandish.
And it gives you a pretty good chance to win, to have your choice of a Todd Gurley, a signed Todd Gurley Rams jersey, or a signed Allen Robinson Bears jersey. I mean...
And these are certified jerseys, right?
Oh, yeah. 100% certified. It's all been verified. You can get on there, put in the code. It'll tell you exactly what day and what time it was signed. It's a pretty screaming deal, and all the money goes 100% towards the Roundup City Racers for them to use towards scholarships for high school students that are graduating, towards shoe or equipment purchases for kids that have a hard time affording that sort of thing. Goes towards travel funds for the youth teams and the high school teams. And really, it's all just a great cause. It's a raffle that we're doing 10 more days. It's going to be drawn on September 27th. Get in there now. Go to Twitter at Chairman Fantasy or Instagram at Fantasy Chairman Pod. Follow those directions. Get your 50 free tickets and win one of those signed jerseys on that Sunday.
Miss out.
Let's go. All right. Well, we're going to have a fun little segment here, Alex. We're going to go through and look at some disappointing performances from some pretty highly drafted or at least highly hyped guys in the offseason. We're going to look at some of these disappointing performances here. And we're calling this one the Week 1 Panic Room. All right?
Panic Room?
The Week 1 Panic Room. So we're gonna go through, and each of us, we're gonna give a panic level on a scale of 1 to like Dwight's fire drill in The Office. You know, when Dwight lights the garbage can on fire and they see all the smoke and then everybody just starts freaking out.
So it's not 1 to 10, it's 1 to Dwight?
It's basically 1 to Dwight, yes.
Okay.
That's got to be my favorite opening for an episode of The Office of all time.
That was pretty good, I will say. There.
It just cracks me. Like when Angela throws the cat up into the ceiling when Oscar's up there. I'm coming back. I'll be back with help. And she just throws it up and then it comes crashing down. Oh, man.
Yeah, Oscar comes crashing down, too. His little legs wiggling, once he goes through the drywall.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But we'll throw some of these names out there, and we're going to get into the panic room.
Oh, my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Wait.
Everybody calm down!
You're getting good at these sound bits, man.
Oh, yeah. I got to surprise you with them, too.
Oh, man. Yeah. Don't tell me about them. I like being surprised.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff. All right. So Panic Room, week 1 Panic Room. First one that we're starting off with is your boy, Austin Eckler, running back for the LA Chargers, finished as running back 32 in week 1. Drafted pretty much in the second round of like every draft. What are we gonna panic or are we gonna stay calm on this guy? What's going on?
So 1's hardly nothing. Dwight is full panic, right?
Dwight's the 10.
Okay, Dwight's the 10. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm at a 2 right now. So the most concerning thing with Austin Eckler was he only got one ball thrown to him, and he caught it. But that pales in comparison to what he was getting last year. I mean, granted, it's week 1. We're trying not to overreact too overzealously, but a one throw for a guy that had 90 plus receptions last year.
He had over 90 receptions last year.
Yeah. So, and the Chargers, but just barely sneaked away with a win on that one. So we'll see.
They had a very vanilla game plan.
He did. And I watched that whole game. They weren't creative with Eckler at all, which was surprising to me.
Just the whole team. It was just gross.
Yeah. And the thing that was encouraging was Eckler actually got 19 carries. So, which was about 5 more than he got, 5 more than his most carries in a single game last year. So it's good to see he's getting more carries, and they're going to rely on him on that. But Joshua Kelly getting goal line carries as well. That's a little concerning to me too. But I'm trying not to panic on him too harshly. But it's something that I definitely want to keep an eye on and see if it changes in week 2.
Yep. If you got somebody in your league that is panicking on Austin Eckler, go buy low right now, because I'm with you, Alex. My panic level is probably at about a 2 or a 3. Not very high. I mean, I think Austin Eckler's going to be fine.
Chargers signed him to a big extension. They know how to use him. They know how dynamic he is. Anthony Lynn, I don't think he's not a moron. I think he knows how to use him, and he'll use him properly.
Yeah,
at least
absolutely. Hopefully, I mean, just the fact that he got 19 carries is nice, because I mean, I don't think he's ever had 19 carries, so to be getting that workload is good. All right.
You got looks more? Like our next player you got here is Saquon Barkley. Ended up as running back 30. He only got, I think he was held under 10 yards, wasn't he, rushing?
He had the one big rush that added to his total, but man, yeah, with Saquon, he was getting just stuffed in the backfield like instantly. So he was held under 10 yards rushing. So man, That means he was going because so maybe that was a reception that he must have had that went for the big yardage.
Yeah, so he made up for his fantasy day with 4 or 5 receptions for like 50 or 60 yards.
I just pulled it up here.
He kind of salvaged it with that, but yeah, I saw
six receptions.
Ben Roethlisberger had more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley in week 1.
Oh yeah. I just pulled it up here. 6 receptions for 60 yards and 15 carries for 6 yards. So yeah, Daniel Jones outrushed him with getting 22 yards on 4 carries. But
Ben Roethlisberger outrushed him.
Yeah. Right, yeah, Roethlisberger had 9 yards on 3 carries.
Yeah.
So, man, yeah, it was just ugly. Saquon would just get stuffed. That O-line is bad. That puts my panic level for Saquon. I mean, honestly, it's probably at like a 5 right now. I'm kind of middling on it just because of how bad that O-line actually looked. But we do have to remember it was against the Steelers. They've got pretty terrific front 4 there. Just they have a darn good defense in general. So taking that into account, it's a little bit you can be a little bit more comforted, but at the same time, man, when a back like Saquon can only get 6 yards on 15 carries, even against a defense like that, that's kind of scary to me.
It is, but like you said, the Pittsburgh Steelers run defense, they're one of the tops in the league. So I'm not very surprised that he was having some troubles. And you've got new offensive coordinator Jason Garrett there too, so they're trying to learn the different blocking schemes up front too. So it might take a week or two to get things to mesh together for this new squad, especially with very limited practice time before the season started. So Saquon, we know the talent. We know what he is. I'm probably at a 3 for a panic level with me. I mean, the guy's top caliber talent. So I think talent, 9 times out of 10 prevails. So
very true. Very, very true. All right. Next back on the list here, we've got Le'Veon Bell finished as running back 46, and we already know his injury. He's already on the IR, so he's going to miss 3 more weeks. Panic level on Le'Veon.
Hit the Dwight button, man. I'm at it. Dwight.
Wait. Everybody calm down.
I'm a full Dwight, man. The fantasy dementor. I mean, Le'Veon and Gase have been butting heads back and forth, since he was acquired, Le'Veon was acquired by the Jets.
Oh yeah.
It didn't seem like Gase really wanted him. And now the pre-game scrimmage that he pulls Le'Veon and says, his hamstrings were tight. We're trying to take care of him. Le'Veon tweets, my hamstrings are fine. Let me run. And then he goes and gets injured in the game with a hamstring injury in week 1 and then gets placed on. Is this the last time we see Le'Veon in a Jets jersey?
Well, this year for sure. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens after he comes off IR, I guess, but man,
maybe a contender trades for him. I don't know.
Yeah, but, do we see a trade for Le'Veon? That would be interesting. As a Le'Veon owner, I kind of hope so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm talking real NFL wise, real NFL. So, fantasy, man, good luck. I mean,
no. That's what I mean. As a Le'Veon owner, I hope he gets traded, like mid-season trade.
Because there is zero future with the Jets for Le'Veon.
That whole team was just ugly.
He's already appointed his running back love of Frank Gore as the starting running back for week 2, which we all saw this coming a mile away.
Signed Kalen Ballage.
Oh yeah, and he brought Kalen. Oh man.
So yeah, he brought his winning backfield from Miami up to New York because that worked really well the first time.
So I am full Dwight on Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, I'm with you. That's exactly where I was gonna say that I was at. Full on Dwight. Ugh, gross. All right, Joe Mixon Joe Mixon here, running back, finished as running back 48, finished behind Le'Veon Bell in week 1. And,
he did.
Ugh. This is kind of a Saquon Barkley situation to me, where, I mean, we know the talent that Joe Mixon has. He's obviously behind a terrible offensive line. Went up against a pretty stout front four with the Chargers there too. And then new rookie quarterback Joe Burrow kind of going out there having his first game. They're getting the feel for how he runs things. So with me, I'm going to say my panic level with Joe Mixon's at a 3. It'll be interesting to see kind of how he gets used and how he handles himself tomorrow night against the Browns, which he should have a little bit of an easier time with, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm at about a 3 or 4. Just something to keep an eye on. Very similar to Austin Eckler, actually. Joe Mixon only had one catch that game as well. Mm-hmm. They did not hardly utilize Joe Mixon in the passing game, which was very curious to me. So I think it's just funky week 1. Everyone's super rusty, trying to mesh well together. So I'm not at the halfway point yet, but I'm not far off. Just keep an eye on it. It is the Bengals we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll get into our first wide receiver here. Another one of your boys, Allen Robinson, finished as wide receiver 35.
He did, and he had, if I remember correctly, I think he had 10 or 11 targets, and he had 7 receptions, I believe. But,
five receptions.
5 receptions. 5 receptions. How many targets? Do you have it up there?
It doesn't have the targets here, but I can find it.
And I mean, they were Mitch Trubisky targets. I watched that morning game, and it was, man, he was doing everything he could. You know, there's a reason Allen Robinson is one of the better contested catch wide receivers in the NFL, and why he's where he's at right now, because Mitch Trubisky needs everything, Allen Robinson can do for him. So Trubisky looked terrible in the first half and started to look better actually in the second half. They made a comeback and ended up beating the Lions. And Robinson kind of went to the wayside a little bit in the second half as well. It was more Anthony Miller. It was Jimmy Graham as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Allen Robinson, the whole dispute with his contract extension, I don't know, maybe something gets done here in the near future, and that makes things better for Allen Robinson. But I'd probably say I'm at a 4 as well with this whole contract extension, Trubisky being the quarterback, probably 4 or 5-ish.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4 for me. Gotta give it a little bit more time, see what kind of usage he gets this week. It's easy to overreact in week 1. So with a lot of these, you might see a lot of people panicking, like full-on Dwight panicking. If that's the case in your league, these guys that we're giving 3s, 4s, even 5s, go buy low. Go try to buy low if you can. If you can. I know in our leagues, it's pretty difficult to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah.
Man, all right. Next wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 39. So McLaurin, 7 targets, 5 receptions for 61 yards. Washington football team ended up winning this game against the Eagles, which I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No, I don't think anyone did.
Dwayne Haskins didn't look too bad. He seemed to kind of pull it together. I mean, if we see Terry McLaurin get a touchdown in this game, it's actually not too bad a day. If you just add a touchdown on top of that 61 yards. So I like the 7 targets is up there pretty good. I don't know if he was the number 1 target on his team that day, but Steven Sims, I think, was right up in that range as well as far as target share goes. But I think Terry McLaurin's still the easy number 1 on this team. We know what he can do. My panic level with McLaurin's at a 2, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we know the talent. We know he's great. More question, I I think the question will lie more with is if Haskins takes the next step. So we'll see what happens there in a new coaching scheme with Ron Rivera being there. So we'll see what happens. But we know Terry McLaurin's a stud. They just got to give him the ball.
Yeah, and it was actually Logan Thomas that was up there targeted around him. Logan Thomas, the tight end, had 8 targets, 4 receptions, and then caught the touchdown there. But Steven Sims was only targeted 3 times. Caught all 3 of them, though.
Logan Thomas, former quarterback turned tight end.
I know it. Pretty crazy. But yeah, no panic on Terry. I think McLaurin's going to be just fine. All right, Michael Thomas finished as wide receiver 83, and his injury did not come until the end of the game. Alex, there's got to be a little bit of panic with Michael Thomas, especially now that he may go on the IR.
Dude, Michaal Thomas, for where he was drafted on your team, which was more than likely back of the, mid to back of the first round. I'm at a Dwight here.
You're at a Dwight?
I'm at a Dwight.
Wait, everybody calm down.
Now think about it. Michael Thomas, he's dealing with a high ankle sprain, okay? And we've seen phenomenal athletes such as, look at last year. Saquon Barkley dealt with a high ankle sprain as well, being a running back, needing to be able to cut and juke from the running back position. Typically he could get away with some straight line carries for the most part, but Saquon wasn't the same when he came back last year. He was, not near as explosive as he was prior to the high ankle injury. Now, think about what Michael Thomas does best. He is a route running tactician. He thrives in the slant game, in the shortcuts, the outs, the button hooks. He doesn't really have deep ball speed. He's good in the contested catch area, so he'll still have red zone, prowess and all that. But man, where he thrives in the middle of the field, that cutting, that juking, that is going a high ankle injury. That's bad news for a player like that.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I was at about an 8. I don't know that I was gonna go full Dwight on it, but man,
well,
that's
I probably
those are
said 8
those are
too,
good
but
points.
I wanted to hear that Dwight button again.
Yeah, that's all. You just wanted to hear Michael Scott just screaming.
But I am very concerned about that. So it especially where people took him in drafts this year. How could you? The first and second round, you don't really want to try and screw up your draft by having someone tank, go down to injury or have a big flop in those picks. You can't win the draft in the first 2 picks, but you can definitely lose it.
Yep. And there's no way to predict anything like this happening, and you would never expect that, especially, of Michael Thomas. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just something that happened, and it came after right at the very end of a down game that, Michael Thomas was just getting bracketed and didn't see the heavy target share that he typically sees. And then, just as they were pretty much running the game down and trying to get it over with, goes and gets rolled up on. So not good for Michael Thomas owners, that's for sure. All right, this next one, Odell Beckham Jr. finishes wide receiver 77. I just went ahead and plussed all the rest of the Browns because it's pretty easy to possibly get panicked here, and we know that
could be very easy.
We know of my Brown love before going into the season, and it's still there from all the talent. But I did mention before that the Browns will likely go as Baker goes. So I guess ultimately it boils down to kind of panic level on Baker.
So as a closet Browns fan, where are you?
I'm with Odell, I'm at a 5. At a 5 because he saw a very, very hefty target share. He got targeted 10 times. He only had 3 receptions, but he only had 4 catchable passes come his way. So I like the workload, and if Baker can start to dial it in a little bit, I think that's definitely going to help Odell. I mean, especially if he's targeting him that frequently. I think tomorrow night's game, I think the Thursday night game is going to be very, very telling. My panic level with pretty much all the Browns could go easily from a 5 to up to Dwight quickly. But it more so just
against
relies
the Bengals
on
too.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It more so just relies on Baker and kind of how he looks, because he did not look good at all.
No, he looked skittish. I mean, he looked exactly the same from last year, where he was just super jittery in the pocket. He was, wasn't waiting for routes to progress, wasn't going through checkdowns. He was, just looked skittish. He looked terrible.
Yeah, it was bad. And part of what brings my panic level down, though, too, was that it was against the Ravens, and the Ravens' defense is pretty darn stout. I mean, and they only added to it this offseason. So
they are stout.
I think their defense got even better over the offseason, and it was already pretty good from last year. So, yeah. So that's what kind of tempers my panic levels. I would have to say Baker panic levels probably at a 7. Odell, I'm sitting at a 5. Probably with the rest of the pass catchers, with Hooper, Jarvis, I'm probably at a 5. With the running backs, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, I'm still going to be down at about like a 3, because they were not the problem. I mean,
I'm at like a 1 with the running backs.
Yeah, both Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they both performed.
What's going to happen? The running backs are going to get more carry.
Run, because Chubb averaged 6 yards a carry, and then Kareem Hunt averaged 5.6 yards a carry. My panic level with Chubb goes up a little bit just because the share there was about 50-50. So,
well, I could understand that.
So
my panic level for Odell, I'm at a 7 right now, because and with Baker, I'm at an 8. Baker, just like we said, looking the exact same as last year. That is, and this is this his 4th year? Third or 4th?
This is Baker's 3rd year.
3rd year.
Yeah.
So just, I mean, man, we have to see that step, especially being number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to give here. So, and then Odell being so high for me at a 7, we're just not seeing the connection there. I mean, Odell's an elite talent, and I get it, but we're just not seeing the connection that we've been hoping for so far. And to be honest, like, my panic level of Odell is a 7. My panic level for Jarvis is probably a 3 or a 4, because we've seen, Baker lock onto Jarvis, and they've had a connection. So that's kind of adds to my Odell panic as well, is that maybe Jarvis is truly the number 1 in this team.
It's possible. Very possible. They just have not seemed to have the chemistry that you would think would get a little bit built up by this point, which is unfortunate. All right. Next on the docket, who do we have there, Alex? I lost my page.
I think we got Zach Ertz.
Yeah, we're into the tight ends, and man, we can roll through the tight ends a little bit quick here. But Zach Ertz at tight end 15. I mean,
tight end 15. He had 3 receptions on 7 targets for 18 yards and 1 touchdown. But I think the big time concerning part was Dallas Goedert had himself a day.
Yeah.
So, and also, I guess we didn't cover that in the news. Ertz has kind of been having some non-progressive contract extension talks with the Eagles, and I think it's directly from the Eagles know that Goddard is younger. Goddard is just as big, just as more athletic probably than Ertz at this point. And man, I think we might be seeing the last days of Ertz here on the Eagles with his contract expiring. I think it expires next year, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Eagles are just, Ertz wants to be paid as one of the top tight ends in the league. The Eagles are probably saying to themselves, why pay you when we can pay Goddard, who's doing just as good, if not better than you, and we can pay him budget price,
Oh yeah. Yeah, that puts me up at about a 6.
I was going to say 6.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm at a 6.
Yeah, 6 sounds about right. I'm a little bit worried about Zach Ertz. He's going to get his share. I mean,
he'll still produce this year and he'll still get targeted. It might be more of a like Ertz, Ertz may end up being the 1B in this, and then Goddard being the 1A. That's
kind of what I'm thinking. That it kind of feels like it may be going that direction, but who knows? Yep. Maybe they just flip flop week to week and play that ping pong game. George Kittle finishes tight end 17, and we mentioned him with his hyperextended knee. Could be likely to miss some time. George Kittle at tight end 17. How panicked are you?
A 3, just because it's the same knee that he actually hyperextended last year, and he ended up missing 2 or 3 games. But he came back and balled out after that. So I'm not panicked about him being able to come back and produce. I'm panicked about how long we could potentially be without him.
So that's what I was going to say.
I'm probably at a 2 or a 3. Probably 3.
Yeah, I would say a 2 for George Kittle there. I'm just going to do one more of these ones that we got down here, and I'm going to go ahead and pick old Hayden Hurst that finished as tight end 21. Everybody was hyping up Hayden Hurst, and this will lead us into our jackpot matchup of the week review, which was the Seahawks and Falcons game that we picked to be our you want a piece of this game, and Hayden Hurst pretty much ended up being about the one piece that didn't pan out in this
he
jackpot
got left out of the
game.
party.
So I'm not too worried about Hayden Hurst. I would say my panic level's at probably a 2 for him as well. I just think he probably hasn't established himself quite as much there. I know he was working with Matt Ryan in the offseason, but that's always a little different than when you're actually in game or getting live practice reps. And yeah, he just was left by the wayside while everybody else got fed this time around. But as he establishes himself more in the system, and they get down maybe into like the red zone area, I think he's going to start to become more of an integral part of that offense. So not too worried about Hayden Hurst yet.
Yeah, I'm probably at a 3 right now. I'm trying not to overreact too much. I mean, Matt Ryan gets down early. They were playing from behind pretty much the entire game there against Seattle. So it was go time for Matt Ryan, and he ended up throwing for over 450 yards and attempted 54 passes. So
yeah,
it's a little concerning that you didn't see more of Hurst involved in that throwing demonstration from Matt Ryan. But you could understand it too. Week 1 of new season, Ryan was peppering Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, guys that he's known and was familiar with, to try and get back in the game. So I'm not too awfully surprised with it, but hopefully Hurst can get, like you said, get close to the red zone and start making his presence known there.
Yeah, I think the matchup played a part into it too. It wasn't as good a matchup as people thought. Maybe the Seahawks were a little susceptible to tight end last year, but between Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, kind of being the guys to cover the tight ends there, I mean... they're going to be tougher against tight ends this season. I think they bulked up specifically to counter George Kittle.
No doubt.
In their division. So, you know, any tight ends going up against the Seahawks, I think you actually may end up having a bit of a down week. So I think that played a big piece of that as well. But now, you ready to get into the preview for week 2 here?
Yeah, did you want to do the jackpot review of week 1?
We got a little review of the jackpot matchup of the week last week. Seahawks and Falcons, man, that was a good game. It was fun. Your Seahawks got the win.
Oh yeah, they did.
This was the second highest point total of the week, I think. Maybe the third. The Raiders and Panthers had a pretty good. They were 64. This was a 63 total points scored. Was our jackpot matchup, and then the Packers and Vikings. Man, that was a high scoring game. 77 points.
Yeah, ticked off Rodgers went off.
That's for sure. So.
In this game for the jackpot matchup, we had a number of fantasy players have really good days. Russell Wilson, they started to let Russ cook there, apparently. He threw super duper efficient.
Oh, yeah.
31 for 35 for 322 yards and 4 touchdowns, and had 3 carries for 29 yards. Ended up scoring 31 points in fantasy. That's a pretty darn good day.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
Matt Ryan in catch-up mode ended up scoring 24 points, had 450 yards and 2 touchdowns with 1 interception. Chris Carson, this was kind of curious, only had 6 carries, but caught 6 balls on 6 attempts for 45 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ended up with 21 points.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Gurley looked all right. 14 carries for 56 yards and 1 touchdown, and had 2 receptions on 5 attempts for, am I seeing that right, 1 yard?
Yeah, he didn't have much in the way of receiving.
Just a little dump off, apparently. Carlos Hyde found himself in the end zone, had 8-point day in fantasy. DK Metcalf was the leading receiver for the Seahawks, had 4 catches on 8 targets for 95 yards and 1 touchdown, and had a bomb touchdown from Russell Wilson that we both watched.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler Lockett on the same side of the ball there ended up with 8 catches on 8 targets for 92 yards, hyper efficient for 13
like
points.
Always.
Well, as always. Calvin Ridley was the leading receiver. Point scorer, I should say, for the Falcons receiving options here with 29 points. He had 9 catches on 12 targets for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Julio Jones wound up with 20 points with 9 catches on 12 targets. Pretty much the same right there for 157 yards. So just racking up the yards as usual for Julio.
Man.
Russell Gage, this was kind of surprising. 9 catches for 12 on 12 targets. That's got to be a misprint, right?
I don't think so.
For 114 yards, he ended up scoring 15 points.
Man, yeah, just about every piece, every viable piece. And you can't forget Greg Olsen on the Seahawks side had 3 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown. So it was literally like we were talking about when we did our preview last week, that you pretty much wanted any piece that you could get in this game, and unfortunately Hayden Hurst was about the only one that didn't pay off. But I mean, yeah, you even got down to the number 3 receivers or the backup running back.
Yeah,
and I mean, you got viable fantasy points out of this game. So this was fun.
It was a jackpot.
It was an absolute jackpot, for sure. I love it. All right. Well, let's get into the Week 2 preview. All right. I will kick it off here. Do you have the list of the matchups there, Alex?
Yep. So the Thursday night game tomorrow night, and just a friendly reminder, people, put your Thursday night players in your starting slots, and then your other players in your flex spots. So
keep your flex open.
Keep your flex open so you're able to pivot if something were to happen to a player come later on the week. You don't want to have one of those flex spots locked up with a Thursday night player if you can avoid it. So
yep, you want your players playing the latest, so like maybe even the Monday night games in those flex spots.
Yep. Give yourself that opportunity to be able to pivot if you can. Thursday night game tomorrow night, it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals against the Cleveland Browns, like we talked about here. Yeah. Like we said, we're going to be watching a whole lot on both sides of the ball there. Joe Mixon, see if he has a little bounce back redemption.
Mm-hmm.
All the Browns receiving options there. Baker, see if they can bounce back as well. Joe Burrow had a pretty good debut. Almost won the game for the Bengals there.
Almost made
that game. I mean, potentially game-winning drive all the way down there to the end, and the kicker there blew it for him. So
got an OPI call and then a blown kick, but the way he was precise. He was pretty surgical leading them down there on that last drive. So that was pretty cool to see. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, against a decent Charger secondary too. So it was good to see that from him. So
see if he can build
lots
on
of pieces to be watching there.
That's for sure. See how much the panic level drops or increases. Let's not get to a Dwight on any of these guys. Yeah. Nobody wants any of that.
Stay calm! Wait! Everybody calm down!
Oh, I might, because I love hearing that.
Right? It's so good. So good. All right, next matchup, our first Sunday morning matchup here. We've got the New York Giants going up against the Chicago Bears. Another couple of players that we brought up in our Panic Room segment here. Going to be watching how if Saquon can survive the defensive line of the Bears here. Khalil Mack going to be eating that offensive line alive, I think. So hopefully we'll see if they can if the O-line there can mesh a little bit better, and if they can protect Daniel Jones and Saquon a little more. Should be hopefully they'll be able to a little bit. But see if Darius Slayton continues to be the go-to guy for the touchdowns there. He had himself a day this
he did
this last Monday, so that was pretty cool. Hopefully they can get Golden Tate back as well. I can't remember if he was back at practice or not. I'm not sure if he was back at practice or not. So
I didn't see any updates today, but I'm sure we'll see more tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully they can get him back. We'll see if Allen Robinson comes out and is content enough to catch a whole bunch of targets.
You think Squeaky Wheel gets the grease right here?
I do, actually. I think they're going to pepper Allen Robinson with targets going up against the Giants, who their defense held up fairly well against the Steelers for a little while and then ended up getting scorched. So I think that's more true to what we're going to see from the Giants defense in this game. We'll see if Trubisky can actually keep up what he was able to put together in the fourth quarter against the Lions. If he can do that, then I think the Giants are going to get torched. But I don't know that I trust Trubisky to do that. And we'll see. We'll see if David Montgomery's feeling any better from his groin injury. See if he can be a little bit more efficient on the ground. Just a couple things to watch for in the Giants versus Bears.
Our next matchup we're going to have Sunday morning is going to be the Atlanta Falcons at the Dallas Cowboys. This was in consideration for our jackpot matchup, but it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, I'm not hitting those reels yet.
Yeah, haven't spun the reels yet. But we are anticipating this could be a high-scoring affair as well. Both teams 0-1 going into this game, and you best believe that Dallas is going to be wanting to throw and light up the scoreboard after losing, or the home opener. So, Well, actually, no, they weren't even at home. They were at the Rams, so they will be at home. So they're going to want to get their first win in front of their home cardboard cutouts, I guess.
Right. Well, I think they said they're going to have 25% capacity. I'm pretty sure I saw something today. Fans. Yeah.
All right, Atlanta, I think they're going to keep doing exactly what they were doing with Seattle in week one. They're just going to be throwing a ton. Everyone's going to be getting looks. So lots of fantasy scoring going to be happening in this one, my prediction.
Yeah, maybe Matt wasn't so crazy with drafting 3 Falcons there early in the draft for our League of Origin. Because they're just going to have to continue to throw and just keep putting up points. I mean, his weeks will go as the Falcons go, and they're not always going to have a great week. But man, if Matt Ryan has to continue to throw upwards of 40, 45 times.
Yeah,
my goodness.
He's throwing it for over 400 yards. You want the receiving options.
You're going to want those pieces there for sure. But, yeah, that's going to be an honorary sort of jackpot matchup of the week. You're going to want pieces in that game for sure. Mm-hmm. Next matchup for Sunday morning, we've got the LA Rams versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And it sounds like Lane Johnson, right? Lane Johnson and Miles Sanders have been practicing in full and should be back for the Eagles, so that should help a little bit. But the wheels just seem to come off for them in the second half going up against the Washington football team last week. And I don't know that it's going to be much better, man. Aaron Donald was have you seen the clips of Aaron Donald against the when he's just bowling dudes over against the Cowboys?
Had to double and triple team him. And, if they didn't, he was just manhandling whoever was in front of him and wrecking the running back.
No, there was literally a clip just floating around on Twitter, Instagram, just everywhere, of him just bowling through three guys. Literally just three offensive linemen that he just knocks over and still almost gets the sack. I mean, he got the QB hurry. But with as banged up as the Eagles' offensive line is, man, Aaron Donald is going to feast. I don't think we're going to get much of anything in the way of receiving options outside of Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz again. Maybe you see a couple long bombs to Jalen Reagor or Deshaun Jackson. But, man, I don't know that I want any piece of Carson Wentz in this game with Aaron Donald coming after him. And then on the Rams side, I think we'll be probably seeing pretty similar to what we saw against the Cowboys. I don't think the Eagles have that daunting of a defense right now. Cooper Kupp was kind of disappointing this last week, but I think he'll probably get a little bit more of a target share this week, and they'll try to utilize him a little bit more. Maybe Tyler Higbee as well. Gerald Everett was dealing with a back injury, right?
Yeah, he sustained a back injury during the game, and McVay said it didn't sound like anything he was too concerned of, but Everett did miss practice today, so something to keep an eye on.
Yes.
But
we might see Higbee get utilized a little bit more.
Was an honorary mention for the panic players there. Mm-hmm. I think they'll get him involved once they get the thing starting to mesh and back in, get the machine oiled. Yeah.
Robert Woods, fire him up. And then as of right now, the running back you want for the Rams is Malcolm Brown, who had himself a big week.
I don't know if I would really feel confident starting any of them.
Malcolm Brown easily looked like the best back in that field, but I don't know. They did use their first. He did
week 1 last year too.
He did, but they had Todd Gurley then too, so I don't know. They did use their first pick, not their first round pick, but the first pick they had on Cam Akers. So I think eventually they're going to want to lean that way, but it could still be a Malcolm Brown week this week.
Well, what's the next matchup you got? I think you're looking at a different list than me.
Yeah, Panthers-Buccaneers.
Panthers-Buccaneers. Okay, mm-hmm. So both teams 0-1, so they're both going to be playing hard to get themselves their first win. Tom Brady's going to be playing in Tampa, first game of the year, first home opener.
Another rival matchup here too.
Yeah, and I think there could actually be quite a few points scored in this game as well. I think Tom's going to come out ticked off and slinging the rock, and McCaffrey and Teddy B are going to have to be scoring as well. And I think sneaky player for you to start. I think Robbie Anderson, stick him in your lineup. Had a big play last Sunday.
Oh yeah,
for a touchdown, and so far, looks like he has the better connection with Teddy B versus Moore. Not really. I mean, he kind of had a mediocre day. Really, no big plays. Couldn't really get loose from the secondary.
No, 4 receptions for 54 yards was all DJ Moore
wasn't
had.
That great?
Robbie Anderson, 6 receptions, 114 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then, Curtis Samuel is 5 receptions, 38 yards. So, Robbie may be the guy there. We'll see. I think DJ Moore is going to get a little bit more involved. I think eventually he'll start to establish a little bit more of a connection with Teddy Bridgewater there, but I think he's still the most talented wide receiver out of that group. But Robbie, I mean, all it takes is one big play with that speed of his.
The guy's been a burner, and he's been a big play just waiting to happen ever since he got, picked by the Jets. So,
yeah, people were already ready to anoint him as the next free man out of Adam Gaze's Dementor clutches. We'll see what he does. Dementor. We'll see what he does this week. But
yeah,
that's what people were already anointing him. He's already the next guy free and seeing success out of the Dementor's clutches.
Well, I hope so. I've got a couple of Robbie Anderson shares, so I hope so.
Speaking of the Dementor, our next matchup is the San Francisco 49ers versus the New York Jets on Sunday morning. And 49ers could be without tight end George Kittle. They're going to be without Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk might be back. Was he practicing this week?
I did see he got a full practice in this week.
That's what I thought. So they'll probably have Brandon Ayuk out there, and they did just sign Mohamed Sanu as well. So Mohamed Sanu, familiar with Kyle Shanahan, as he was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta when Mohamed Sanu was there. So he could be used early and could be maybe a sneaky play here going up against the Jets, who the Jets actually have a pretty good run defense, while the 49ers are one of the best rushing offenses in the NFL. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. Raheem Mostert had himself a big day this last week, and I think he's going to continue to be used. And then Jerick McKinnon also had himself a pretty good day in the receiving game and caught a receiving touchdown there. So it was nice to see him back out on the field. It wasn't
hadn't played since 2018, right?
Yeah, 2 years. Well, no, 2017. He was.
Jeez.
Yeah, 2 years, 2 full years he hadn't played. So yeah, it was good to see him back out there. It wasn't just camp speak, coach speak of him being a strong receiver there while they were in training camp. So I think they're going to have to definitely lean on Raheem Mostert and Jerick McKinnon if George Kittle's not there. And then Brandon Ayuk and Mohamed Sanu could be maybe some sneaky flex plays going up against I would say suspect Jets secondary.
May see a Kendrick Bourne sighting on Sunday too. So,
that's true. Yep.
But talk about another guy that looked really rusty and late on his throws, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's got to sharpen things up this week.
That's for sure. Yeah, that passing game there wasn't. It was a little sketchy.
It was anemic,
to say the least. Good thing they had a running game, but yeah. Then on the Jets side, Jamison Crowder.
Yep, that's it. Don't worry about anything else.
Yeah, maybe Herndon gets a little bit more with. I don't know. I mean, they're not going to be able to rely on their run game whatsoever.
No, I mean,
Crowder
is the only thing that I would even halfway consider, and that's halfway considering. So.
They're gonna have to pass, so maybe Chris Herndon, but yeah, Crowder.
We as a show are not endorsing you start any Jets players if you can avoid it.
No,
except for Crowder, maybe
not at all. Richard Sherman did just get put on the IR as well for potentially short term. So the Niners are a little banged up in the secondary right now. So if there is going to be one way to attack them, it's going to be through the air, because that front four is not going to let the likes of Frank Gore, Kalen Ballage, and Josh Adams run on them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no thanks.
Stay away from Jets for sure.
Stay away from the fantasy Dementor.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next one we had was Broncos and Steelers.
Ooh, Broncos and Steelers. You got Broncos side of the ball there. What'd you think of Drew Lock? What'd you think he looked like coming from a Broncos fan?
Talking to Kyle about this, he texted afterwards. He's like, that was a steaming pile of poo there, Ben. What's going on? I didn't think that Drew Lock actually looked all that bad. I thought he actually played pretty well when he needed to. He had a couple of there were some deep passes that he missed on. He overthrew 2 of those that I noticed. Then there was one play in particular that would have been good for a first down that he just made a bad read where he could have hit Deshaun Hamilton over the middle, who was pretty wide open. And had he just gone all the way through his reads, he probably would have seen that, would have been able to get the first there. He was back and forth kind of on his pocket presence from what I noticed. There were times where he looked like very comfortable, very poised in the pocket, and then there were other times that he kind of started to get some hot feet and he would throw off balance and things like that. But overall, he looked pretty solid and was making good throws and was making good reads and everything. His receivers didn't help him out. Jerry Jeudy dropped 2 clutch passes that would have been first downs that potentially could have won them the game. Another one that happened was, I believe it was Jake Butt dropped another pass there just right across the middle that Drew Lock put right onto his hands. And then I believe there was at least one more that I saw, and I can't remember who it was, but he did not get helped out there in that regard as far as his receivers catching the ball. So I
guess I should have asked the question for short answer. What do you think?
I'm just giving you an analysis on him, but
oh yeah,
that's ultimately I think he looked pretty solid, but yeah, just some things that overall the team needs to clean up a little bit. So
with Philip Lindsay being out this week, Melvin Gordon I think is going to get all the workload. They might mix in some Royce Freeman here and there, but I think it's going to be the Melvin Gordon show. But going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers rush defense, we just saw what they did to Saquon. So Melvin Gordon going to have a rough matchup this week.
Yeah, he might be involved a little bit more in the passing game.
Yeah.
This week.
And like we talked about, Jeudy, Fant on the Broncos side, they're going to have a little bit of a task. The Steelers secondary is pretty darn good as well. So they're going to have a tough sledding on Sunday, that's for sure. Pittsburgh side of the ball, Roethlisberger, his first game back after having the elbow surgery, he looked like you'd see shades of old Roethlisberger and then shades of he's got a lot of rust he's got to knock off. But towards the end of the game on Sunday, he started to kind of look like the same old Ben Roethlisberger, started to hook up with Deontay Johnson, made some good throws to Juju, made some good throws to James Washington. So try to get or those are some guys that you might want to consider playing on Sunday. Broncos secondary kind of beat up. AJ Boye is going to be out with a dislocated shoulder, I believe.
Yep.
And there just ain't much else out there other than maybe Ben Simmons.
Starting a couple of Justin Simmons. Starting a couple of rookie cornerbacks. So I could see Deontay Johnson having a bounce back week this week. He saw 10 targets, I think, and just didn't have a great game. And that Steelers offense kind of started to come on there towards the end of that game. They started firing on all cylinders.
So keep an eye on James Conner too. See if he's practicing through the week. If not, it'll be the Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels show. So Snell, I think Snell would be worth a start if Connor sat.
Yeah. On the Denver side, Cortland Sutton practiced, had a partial practice, and then I believe KJ Hamler is back practicing in full as well. So they might have those two back, which would be really helpful for the Broncos offense.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, what's our next matchup here?
Next matchup, and we'll start maybe cooking through these a little bit here. We got Jaguars. Yeah,
I think we're going long here.
We're running a little long. It's okay. It's one show a week right now.
That's true.
If it's not that, well, we got the Sasquatch Square Off coming at you later this week as well. But Jaguars Titans Sunday morning matchup here, and Gardner Minshew, man, super efficient. Looking really good. DJ Chark was not heavily targeted. He was actually, I think, second or third on the team in targets, but caught the touchdown pass there. Keelan Cole was a guy that actually ended up getting a pretty good target share as well. And then James Robinson pretty much saw all the running back work there. This Titans defense is pretty stingy, so you may want to temper expectations for those guys, but we'll see if Gardner Minshew can keep up the mustache magic that he came out firing with in week
Most
1.
Definitely.
For the Titans, we'll see if Corey Davis can continue this little, I wouldn't even call it a resurgence, I guess, maybe just a surgence. But we've seen Corey Davis have days like he had against Denver before, and then he just disappears off the map again. So whether it's a Devontae Parker type of season or not, yet to be determined, but definitely needs to be rostered now for sure. A.J. Brown didn't have the greatest day against Denver. He's definitely just more of an efficiency guy, and if it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit, but he's likely to go off at any given point in time. So you got A.J. Brown, you're more than likely starting him, and then Derrick Henry got 31 carries against Denver. You have Derrick Henry in there at all times.
Start Derrick Henry
all the time. And then Ryan Tannehill didn't have a great day, but wasn't terrible. So
he looked about the same as last year, from what I thought. So, he was. And he actually was surprising with, I think he had 40-plus attempts throwing the ball, which was a little surprising. So if he can continue to do that, I think he got 19 fantasy points. I mean, if you can get 19, 20 points out of Tannehill most weeks, that's not a bad week.
No, that's pretty good. I mean, I would take that. I would take that for sure. Good, definitely a good streaming guy.
Mm-hmm.
Jonnu Smith too. He had a pretty decent day. The tight ends there, and we talked about Jonnu going up against Denver and how he'd be a strong play. Didn't have quite the day that we were expecting, but got a touchdown and a few pretty good receptions in there. And I think they're going to continue to look his way. He's an athletic freak. All right, Lions and Packers are next.
Lions and Packers. Well. Detroit Lions 0-1 going into week 2. Such a heartbreaking drop for DeAndre Swift. Could have won the game there, man, right at the end. He's definitely somebody I'm going to be keeping an eye on in week 2 to see if he bounces back. AP on the Lions side of the ball there, he looked great. Just came in there and just started dominating right off the bat, almost a la Kenyon Drake last year with hardly any practice, comes in and just starts, looking terrific right off the bat. Keep an eye to see if Kenny Golladay practices this week. I haven't seen anything quite yet. Still dealing with that hamstring injury. Hopefully he gets back soon. Marvin Jones and TJ Hawkinson kind of had some quiet weeks for the both of them. Hopefully they bounce back. If Green Bay has another shootout like they had last week, they're going to need those guys for sure. Stafford kind of had a mediocre week as well. Wasn't anything spectacular, but he can go off when he needs to. On Green Bay's side of the ball there, you got Rodgers who went bananas on Sunday, throwing for 4 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, he's
target monster.
Target monster, and he's going to do what he does. Target monster, score touchdowns, make big plays. So start your Devontae. Both players had good weeks between Allen Lazard and MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Who would you start, Ben, if you had to pick one?
Man. I'd probably still lean Lazard, but
I would too.
Man, that's tough to try and discern who the actual number 2 receiver there is. But if Aaron Rodgers can continue his campaign of hate,
that's what we're calling it.
He's just gonna keep burning everything down, man.
man. Aaron Jones got stuffed a number of times on the goal line, so hopefully next week he can kind of punch that in.
He did end up punching in one touchdown, 16 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown. So he had an okay day. But
we watched a number. There were like two other goal line stands where he was on the goal line and he could have had a goal line plunge, but he got stuffed.
Oh yeah. So but start Aaron Jones, start Devontae Adams, start Aaron Rodgers, and then maybe just throw a dart if you need an upside flex play between MVS or Allen Lazard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next matchup is the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. Also Sunday morning, whole bunch of Sunday morning, the heavy morning slate again. Bills and Dolphins, man. Josh Allen needs to quit fumbling the ball.
Oh man, some bonehead fumbles.
I mean, he had a big day because he was the leading rusher for the Bills, and then threw a couple of touchdown passes, I believe, or one touchdown pass, and then is that right? Threw 2 touchdown passes, okay, and then rushed for a touchdown as well. So he had 14 carries for 57 rushing yards, threw for 312 yards and 2 touchdowns. So actually did not have himself too bad a day. Threw the ball 46 times and 33 completions. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are 50-50 right now. Each had 9 carries. Singletary was the more efficient rusher. He ran for 30 yards, 3.3 average. Whereas Zach Moss ran for 11 yards of a 1.2 average, which, like we talked about, the Jets have a pretty good rushing defense, so they just kind of held them in check there. I think we're going to see a little bit better game from both of those guys going up against Miami here. And then Stephon Diggs had 8 receptions, 86 yards this last week. John Brown, 6 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown. So I think John Brown actually out-targeted Stephon Diggs, but those are the go-to guys for Josh Allen when he is passing the ball, and I think you're going to just continue to see them get heavily targeted, whereas...
And John Brown actually cropped up on the injury report with a foot injury today, so he sat out practice. We'll see. Just keep an eye on that for tomorrow, see if he gets some level of activity in.
Yeah. If he's out, I think you see targets get heavily funneled towards Stephon Diggs there. Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox, just kind of safety net guys on third down to try and get the first.
You're not really starting those guys.
No. So I think you actually could be okay starting Devin Singletary or Zach Moss in a flex spot if you need to this week, going up against Miami. Miami's defense they don't strike me as very daunting at all. Josh Allen's going to rush for sure. We saw what Cam Newton did against Miami, rushing there. On the Dolphins side, is Devontae Parker practicing? Was he back at practice? Because he went out with an injury. I think I saw that he was in full pads for practice today. So he may be back, and if that's the case, then I think you kind of have to start Devontae Parker. Unless you're starting him in a flex spot and you've got a potential pivot to somebody that might be a little bit better, but that hamstring worries me with Devontae Parker. With Preston Williams, didn't really see much out of him. Fitzmagic just struggled going up against the Patriots.
It was the New England Patriots defense. They're pretty stout.
They are. They certainly, especially their secondary. So, the Bills have a pretty stout defense as well, too. They've got a strong secondary as well. I don't think it's actually even that much better of a matchup than the Patriots were, to be honest. So if I can, I'm wanting to stay away from Dolphins this week.
Yeah, I don't think there's no one that I'm really starting with confidence, that's for sure.
The backfield in particular is just gross, with Myles Gaskin leading in carries over Matt Breida and Jordan Howard. I'm just staying away from that. So stay away from the Dolphins.
Yeah, not ideal.
All right, next matchup here, Alex. You ready for it? We've got the Vikings and the Colts.
Oh.
Yeah, Vikings and Colts. And you want to know what?
What?
This is our jackpot matchup of the week.
The reels are spinning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Vikings and Colts, Alex.
Well, I mean, we kind of saw a little bit from the Vikings in the Packers game. I mean, they were high flying, slinging the ball all over the place. Adam Thielen had himself a real good day. I can't remember his yardage off the top of my head, but I know he had 2 touchdowns in the game.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he looked real good.
Dalvin Cook also had a great day as well. I think he, if I remember right, did he rush for one and then and have a receiving touchdown?
Yeah. Let's see. So, no, Dalvin Cook rushed for 2. So 12.
Rushed for 2.
Yep, 12 carries, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. Adam Thielen was 6 receptions, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both had very good days, and Kirk Cousins had himself a good day as well from the quarterback stance there. So, I mean, as long as they keep up, which we're kind of thinking that they might, because on the opposite side of the ball, for the Vikings on their defense, their secondary is really lacking right now. So it's they're having a hard time from what we saw on Sunday with the Packers containing defenses and slowing them down. Don't they have a couple of rookie corners?
Yeah, I think they've got a couple rookie corners, and then, their safeties just leave nothing to be desired.
No kidding. And I can't remember, is Xavier Rhodes still there?
No, I don't believe that he is. I don't think he is.
What? Is he a free agent?
Yeah, but, I mean, he was not the same Xavier Rhodes last year that he has been in the past.
Roads were all open.
Yeah, roads were definitely open.
They were not closed. So on the Vikings side,
Rhodes is on the Colts.
He's on the Colts.
Vikings prepare to face Xavier Rhodes on the. I forgot about that. Yeah, so.
No kidding.
Yep, cornerback for the Indianapolis Colts. I forgot about that. So, little rivalry matchup or a little.
Okay. Maybe I'll step it up. So, on the Vikings side of the ball, you're starting Adam Thielen, you're starting Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson. Didn't really have a super impressive week 1 that I could recall. Neither of the tight ends, Kyle Rudolph or Irv Smith did either as well. Kirk Cousins, for a 1 quarterback league, he's not a bad quarterback to start, especially in this jackpot matchup that we're predicting. He might go off again. So could be a good quarterback to start. On the other side, for the Indianapolis Colts, talk about Jonathan Taylor, man. I mean, it's Jonathan Taylor time.
Jonathan Taylor time. Heck yeah, Nyheim Hines too. You're gonna,
no kidding.
Phillip Rivers targeted the running back 17 times this last week. Yeah. Each of them caught 6 passes, I believe.
Colts Austin Eckler, pretty much.
Yep.
So I would be starting Taylor. I'm going to start. I wanted to say Eckler. I'm going to start Hines. And for receivers, T.Y. Hilton, I would fire him up as well.
I think he's having a bounce-back week this week.
I think he's going to have a bounce-back week. He's going to take advantage of this younger secondary for the Vikings. And Paris Campbell showed an immediate connection there with Phillip Rivers as well.
Heavily targeted.
For sure. And man, as much as it kind of gives me, holds me back a little bit to say, but I might be starting Phillip Rivers this week too.
I know.
In a jackpot matchup, I think he might be slinging a whole lot of balls around the field. So,
yep. Yeah, and I think just our biggest piece in this being the jackpot matchup is just both these teams just weak secondaries, just kind of weak defenses overall, and then both offenses that have the playmakers and the ability to be able to put up points. And I just think this might end up turning into a bit of a shootout between these two.
And they're both going to be playing indoors as well, which both teams are accustomed to. So that's kind of a little gem that I like to look at when I'm trying to decide between jackpot matchups or even lineup decisions. Sometimes, if they're not playing at home, are they playing somewhere that is halfway similar? And typically the indoor games, most of the time they can turn into track meets just because they're indoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right, and that's our jackpot matchup of the week, Vikings and Colts. Moving on, we've got the Washington football team versus the Arizona Cardinals, and this is our first afternoon game on Sunday. For the Washington football team, I am likely not starting Dwayne Haskins anywhere unless I am in a quarterback pinch and really need to. But I am starting Terry McLaurin. I think we see a good, strong bounce back from him this week. Logan Thomas could be
starting Antonio Gibson.
If I have to in a flex spot, maybe. But
if I don't have to, I'm holding them off and I'm waiting to see him do it.
Yep, I'm not. Yeah, if I have to in a flex spot, then because maybe my team got decimated with injuries on that first week, then sure. But yeah, no. If I have a better, safer play, I'm gonna do that. Just because this backfield is still kind of a mess. And honestly, I'm probably not starting much from the Washington football team. Maybe Logan Thomas if I'm thin at tight end, or if you waited until the very end of your draft to take somebody, or if you had Blake Jarwin and then lost him. Logan Thomas could be a decent start there at the tight end position. On the Cardinals side of the ball, Kyler Murray is going to be a potential over 1,000-yard rusher this year if he continues to run the way that he did last week.
Yeah, if he continues that.
I think he's going to have to run a lot this week too, because the Washington football team's got a pretty stout pass rush, and the Cardinals do not have a great O-line. We saw DeAndre Hopkins get 16 targets, 14 receptions for 150 yards, and I think he put it to bed that he was going to have a down year just because he went to a new system and a new team. Kyler Murray loves him some DeAndre Hopkins.
That he does. What about the other pass catchers?
I don't know that I'm really interested in much of the other ones. Man, we saw Christian Kirk got like 5 targets for like a yard, and then Larry Fitzgerald, I can't remember how many times he was targeted. But he could be okay. 4 targets for 34 yards last week. I'm probably just staying away from most other pass catchers from Arizona, unless I just absolutely have to start one. But Kenyon Drake, I think Kenyon Drake will be all right. I think he's probably going to be utilized more in the passing game. If you are looking for another pass catcher there, it's probably going to be Kenyon Drake being the number 2 passing option. With this pass rush from Washington, I think we're going to see Kyler either running or having to dump it to Kenyon Drake, or just hyper-targeting DeAndre Hopkins. So that's that does it for that there. Next matchup is Ravens and Texans.
Ravens and Texans. This could also potentially be kind of a high-scoring affair, especially if the Ravens get out ahead early. And from what I've seen with the Ravens, when they get out ahead early, they don't let off the gas. They just keep on dumping the points in. If that happens, Houston's going to have to throw the ball a ton, which they kind of showed playing Thursday night last week against the Chiefs. And that could be mean good fantasy days for some people. So on Baltimore side of the ball, you're starting Lamar Jackson. Just don't even question that. You're starting Mark Andrews. I would start Marquise Hollywood Brown this week as well. I would too. Yep. I think he'll have a blow up game this week. Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, kind of an interesting little split there between the two. They were almost even split in carries, but Dobbins got all of the goal line work.
Yes, he did.
Rushed for 2 touchdowns, actually.
Yeah, so that's a tough one for me there. I'm not sure. Which one to start
Ingram
there.
Owners, that's for sure.
Most definitely, and we'll see if it changes at all because I mean they were blowing the Browns out. Maybe just trying to get the Rook some more work in there. So we'll see. Maybe if it's a closer game, maybe they end up utilizing Mark Ingram a little bit more. But something to watch. If I can pivot off of pretty much either of them in this game to see the usage, I might do that. But
could be a good flex play though. Just to take a stab at one of those guys on Houston's side of the ball there. Deshaun Watson, I think, like I said, I think he's going to have to throw a lot to keep up with the Ravens. And I think he's going to be running a lot too, trying to get out of the pocket. He's not going to be able to hang too long in the pocket. We kind of saw that in week 1 with the Chiefs. He tried to hang around and he was scrambling. He's trying to buy his guys some time, but it didn't really work most of the time. So guys like Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, they need to step it up. Randall Cobb as well. Cooks got injured, I believe, at one point during the game.
No, well, he was injured before the game. He almost wasn't even going to play that game. And then, he was pretty much just out there as a decoy.
He was just really quiet. So hopefully he gets a full week of practice in, and hopefully that trio of wide receivers there with we already know Fuller has a connection with Watson, but hopefully Cooks and Cobb can get on track with Watson as well. Duke Johnson, we'll have to see his activity level coming back, but David Johnson, man, he looked great.
He did. He looked good. Looked like
he looked good. So
David Johnson.
I'd be firing up. David Johnson might have some tough sledding against a stout Ravens defense, but I think they'll utilize him in the passing game like they were doing last week. So that's good fantasy points for you.
For sure. Like it a lot. Next matchup is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the LA Chargers, another Sunday afternoon game. And this one was another one that we had considered potentially for a jackpot matchup here, but fire up your Chiefs. I mean, Chargers defense probably a little bit more stout than what the Chiefs went up against the Texans, but with Patrick Mahomes and company, you don't worry about any of that. I'm not even going to dive too deep into any of those guys. Just fire up your Chiefs. Maybe not Mahomes. Sammy Watkins unless you're feeling risky.
So Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, fire those guys up.
Yep, fire them up. If you're feeling risky, go ahead and throw Sammy Watkins in there, but I wouldn't do it.
the week one king, man.
Yep.
And then irrelevant playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. LA Chargers are going to have to be a little bit more than vanilla going against the Chiefs here if they're going to want to keep up with them. So hopefully we'll be seeing a little bit more creativity utilizing the best players on that team in Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen. And hopefully they'll let Tyrod kind of open it up a little bit more. He did not look great, and people are already calling for Justin Herbert to start. I like Tyrod. Hopefully he can kind of bounce back and have himself a decent game here. But I can see, do you see Tyrod get replaced by Herbert at some point in this game if the Chiefs just start blowing the Chargers out?
Probably not this game. Since they're 1-0 right now, I think Tyrod got a little bit more of a leash. If they lose, they're going to lose this game. So they'll be 1-1. I think if they lose week 3, we may see Herbert in week 4.
I could see that for sure. That's
about the same time we saw Baker take over for Tyrod. Now, granted, Tyrod came out on an injury, but he came in and he didn't get taken out the rest of the year. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't see a world where the Chargers keep up with the Chiefs in this one. I think you can play Keenan Allen. He still saw a lot of targets this last week.
Yeah, you have to almost.
For sure. Austin Eckler we're going to see him get a bunch of carries. Hopefully they'll actually target him in the receiving game a little bit more. Hunter Henry, you probably don't have a better tight end on your team if you have Hunter Henry. So you're probably starting Henry. More than likely starting him. He did get Hunter Henry did get 5 receptions for 73 yards. I guess he had a better day than I thought he did. But just this whole game was just kind of quiet. So this whole game with the Chargers and the Bengals. So you fire up Hunter Henry. Mike Williams made some pretty big, impressive catches down the field. So
yeah, when Tyrod was airing it out, he was airing it out to Mike Williams, and he was making some great catches. He was making me nervous every time he landed. You see where the guy gets a lot of shoulder injuries from.
Yeah, so I think you could get a pretty decent flex play out of Mike Williams here. And then Joshua Kelly, rookie running back behind Austin Eckler, looked really good. 12 carries. He
could be a sneaky flex play.
Yeah, 12 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, he definitely could be a sneaky flex play as well. All right, we've got 2 more matchups here. This one, Patriots and Seahawks. Sunday night game.
Sunday night game, Patriots and Seahawks. So you're on New England side of the ball, Cam Newton. Man, he looked like Cam Newton of old week 1, rushing for over 70 yards and rushing a couple of touchdowns in, which I think it said that I saw a thing that said no Patriots quarterback has rushed for 2 touchdowns since some quarterback in 1970s or something like that. Ooh. Or had taken more rushes or something like that. It was a wild stat, but expect more of that from Cam Newton. Outside of Cam Newton on the Patriots, man, it's tough. Yeah, if you have Julian Edelman, I'd probably start him in the flex if you could. If you have a better option, I wouldn't blame you to bench Julian Edelman until you see a little bit more of a connection with Cam Newton. James White, kind of the same thing until you see a connection or rapport, a better game plan for James White. I'll probably put him on the bench until I see it. Other than that, I don't think there's any other Patriots that you're considering start. Maybe Sony Michel if you're desperate at running back.
Yeah.
On Seattle side of the ball, you're starting Russ Wilson. You're starting Chris Carson. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, I think you're firing them both up. We'll see how they try to, if Stephon Gilmore shadows one or the other, or if he kind of moves off and on both of them. But I'll be kind of curious to see that and then see how those two stack up against Gilmore. I think Gilmore is probably more likely to follow DK. So might be a little bit of tough sledding for him. So you may see Lockett have the boom week this week.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. All right, in our last matchup, Monday Night Football, we've got the New Orleans Saints versus the Las Vegas Raiders. We saw Josh Jacobs explode with the hat trick, 3 touchdowns. He got a little bit more involved in the passing game, which is what I think everybody was kind of wanting to see from him.
Everybody was hoping for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he showed that he could do it. He looked pretty good running routes out there, catching the ball. So I think, obviously you fire up Josh Jacobs. The pass catchers are a little bit more tough to figure out there. I mean, Bryan Edwards I think he was out on the field the most of all the wide receivers, but I believe he only saw 1 target. And then, Henry Ruggs caught a nice long deep ball, and then a couple of other balls, and then got hurt. So he was kind of in and out of the game the rest of the time there, and didn't do much after the injury. And then Nelson Aguilar caught a nice deep touchdown pass from Derek Carr, who he himself didn't look too bad. The Raiders put up 34 points to get the win last week against the Carolina Panthers. So I think you could actually feel okay starting Derek Carr if you have to. If you're streaming quarterbacks, this could be a matchup where you need to, because I think the Saints are going to be able to put up points on the Raiders here, even without Michael Thomas. You're going to see more targets probably funneled towards Alvin Kamara, Emmanuel Sanders, and Jared Cook. Maybe Traquan Smith, but I think he's maybe going to be more of the big play guy that they'll send him deep and maybe try to open him up with some play action, and then have Drew Brees send one deep down to him. But the guy that I think is going to benefit the most from Michael Thomas potentially being out, or more than likely out, is going to be Emmanuel Sanders there. So I think you can feel okay starting Sanders, obviously starting Kamara. I think you can still start Drew Brees. The Raiders' defense does not scare me much, even without Michael Thomas there. So this could have the potential to be a pretty high-scoring affair as well.
It could. I'm not a big fan typically of starting Drew Brees when he's not playing at home. I don't know what it is, but
that's true. I guess they're not at home.
So, and then especially with Michael Thomas possibly being shelved, I might, if I have a better option than Drew Brees, I might pivot. And then, did you mention the Walrus?
I did not mention the Walrus. Yeah, the Walrus.
Oh, man, can't forget him.
Can't forget Darren Waller, man. He got 6 receptions. So, I mean, yeah, he's probably going to be the target leader for the Raiders again. I don't know what Ruggs' health is coming into this game, but just didn't see much out of Bryan Edwards, and you never really want to trust Nelson Aguilar.
No,
Hunter Renfrow only had 2 receptions for 21 yards, so I think your target leader is going to be Darren Waller. So
could potentially be Edwards. Lots of praise coming on him in the practice sessions prior to week 1, even from Derek Carr as well. So he might be a hold guy right now, and I wouldn't start him necessarily. I'd kind of wait to see it first.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are going to have to lean more on the passing game in this one. The Saints have a much stronger rushing defense than the Carolina Panthers, so I think you are going to see a lot more passing volume from the Raiders here. So yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for the week 2 previews there, Alex. We're gonna need to figure something out for our in season. We're still trying to determine how we best want to go about this, because we definitely went long. So
yeah, we went really long. I think we got to trim up the previews. We can't dive too deep and then reflect on what they did week 1. Maybe a couple of the high players, but yeah, we're gonna have to trim up the previews.
That's all right. We're learning how we want to go about this to best bring you guys some fun fantasy football content. We dove pretty deep into some panic room stuff as well, and that might be a segment that we bring back every so often. But
just on Twitter, just remind me not to ask Ben about Broncos or Browns questions, and we could probably cut about a half hour off this thing.
Oh, yeah, okay. Whatever, man. Whatever. If there's 2 teams that I can tell you the most about, it's going to be those. So when I get the opportunity, I gotta give you all my knowledge.
I need to have access to the wicca button, to cut you off.
Oh no, you don't get that. Man. No, you don't get that. Not with me in control here. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into our hot prop and lock it, so we can update you on who hit the most over-unders last week, and then we will call it good for this episode. All right. We've got our Hot Prop and Lock It segment here brought to you by our friends at Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is a fantasy football app where you go. It's a daily fantasy sports fantasy football app, where you go in and you choose player props, and that's how you set your lineup. And this week, for week 2, they've got a $7.5 thousand guaranteed contest for the Thursday night game, $15,000 for the NFL Sunday games, and then $7.5 thousand for NFL Sunday touchdowns only props. So that's an interesting one. You go in and you just choose the over-under on touchdowns for all these different players. Thrive Fantasy. Get in there, hashtag prop up with us. Use the code Fantasy Chairmen or just Chairman, and they will match up to $20 on your first $20 deposit. So on our last week's Hot Prop and Lock It, we had Deshaun Watson over under 240.5 pass yards. We all said over, and we all got that one correct. Patrick Mahomes, 310.5 passing yards. Over or under. Alex and I said under. Matt said over. Alex and I were correct on that one. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 95.5 rushing and receiving yards. Alex said over. I said under. Matt said over. Alex and Matt, you were correct. Brandon Cooks, 3.5 receptions. We all said over. And it was under. So we all got that wrong. David Johnson, 0.5 rushing touchdowns. Alex was the only one to say over. David Johnson got 1 rushing touchdown, so Alex got that one right.
You're darn right.
So the final tally came to Alex has 4 correct. Ben and Matt, we have 2 correct. And we brought the Fantasy Sasquatch in to the end of the episode here so that we can go through and pick our props for week 2. And remember, whoever wins season long gets to pie the other 2 in the face. So, Squatch, we got to step it up.
I'm ready.
All right. Okay, so our first one, you guys, and we'll snake through again. So I'll start with Sasquatch this time, and then I'll go, and then Alex. So Kirk Cousins, 19.5 completions. Over or under 19.5 completions from Kirk Cousins.
Who are they playing?
They are playing the Indianapolis Colts. This was our jackpot matchup of the week, by the way, Matt.
Nice. I'm going to go with under.
All right. Matt says under. I'm going to say over 19.5 completions for Kirk Cousins. What do you say, Alex?
Over.
Over as well. Very nice. Okay, then next one, we've got Josh Allen, 260.5 passing plus rushing yards. So passing and rushing yards, 260.5 over or under for Josh Allen. I will go first, and I'm going to say over on this one. Alex?
Over.
Over. Squatch?
I'm going over too.
All right. We're pushing on that one. I see how it is. Okay, next one. Mark Andrews, 64.5 receiving yards. Over or under? Alex is first.
Over.
Over 64.5 receiving yards. Matt?
Who are they playing?
The Ravens are playing the Texans.
Over.
Over. Oof. Man, I'm gonna go under, Mark, with that one. Got to go contrarian. Try to get a leg up, hopefully. All right, Cooper Kupp, 5.5 receptions. 5.5 receptions, and I think we're back to Sasquatch going first. They're playing the Eagles.
Really tough. They're playing the Eagles?
Yep.
I'm going to go over.
What is going on there?
Noah is Getting ready for bed.
Sounds like baby Squatch. Getting ready to go to sleep.
Yelling at the campers before he goes to bed. Huh?
Oh, man. Just back at the cave, yelling at the campers. Oh, man. Cooper Kupp, 5.5 receptions. I'm going to say under. I think he gets 5 receptions.
I'm going under, too.
Under as well for Alex. Okay. And our last prop here, you guys, we have Austin Eckler, 46.5 rushing yards. Over or under? I guess I'm back to first here. Austin Eckler, 46.5 rushing yards. I'm going to give the over on that one. Alex.
Over.
Over. All right. And Matt.
Yeah, I'm going over too.
Over on that one as well. All right. So we picked him. Kirk Cousins, 19.5 completions. Josh Allen, 260.5 passing plus rushing yards. Mark Andrews, 64.5 receiving yards. Cooper Kupp, 5.5 receptions. And Austin Eckler, 46.5 rushing yards. Those are just a few of the props that you can find in the Thrive Fantasy NFL Sunday games. They've got a $15,000 guaranteed contest going on for the Sunday slate. Get in there, hashtag prop up with us. Use that code Fantasy Chairmen or just Chairman, and they will match up to $20 on your first deposit of $20 or more. Thank you to our friends at Thrive Fantasy. And that'll do it for the episode this week. We definitely went a little long, Alex. We'll get that figured out. But it's always fun just talking football with you. Squatch, thanks for jumping on for Hot Prop and Lock It. And we will. I'll be seeing you on the Sasquatch Square Off.
Right.
Follow us on Twitter at Chairman Fantasy, at FindFF Leagues, and at Fantasy Squatch.
Don't forget to rate and review us on all your podcast devices, and give us a 5-star review. It helps.
That's right. We'll see you guys later.